Thanks, Niklesh. Okay, so welcome everybody once again. So today you will gonna learn what is Orchestrator and like in some of the development activities, what you would have learned from last 14-15 days, like RE framework, the best practices in terms of development in the UiPath Studio. So this is gonna be a next stage, right? Like whatever you would have done in the UiPath Studio. Okay, so Orchestrator, I would be helping you to understand how you like after you design the process. Okay, so far you have learned a lot of things. Now after you complete your development, what happens? So all of those things you will get to know in the next 1.5 hours. Okay, so I'll quickly introduce myself. I'm Vamshi. I'm working as the technical lead in Ernst and Young, and I'm certified UiPath developer. I've got a lot of experience in supporting the production bots. So remember this, supporting the production bots, because today we are learning this orchestrator concept, right? So people who's gonna work as the support, not in the development. So they will need to look into this bots into the production. If something goes wrong in the production, then that kind of another role. So I'll also discuss about roles in UiPath, different roles, and what is your job in that case. So I've got that experience where if anything goes wrong in the production, then what should we do, those level of things. I've done development for various applications in banking and different domains. And also I would give kind of trainings for the people who wanted to start their career in RPA. So that's my very quick introduction about me. So I'll start with today because we have already crossed 20 minutes. So I'll not waste much time. I'll directly go into the topic. So as you see, this is what you're going to learn. See, main intention for me in this next, as you are all giving me 1 hour of your time. So my main motto here is to help you to understand in real-time scenario what happens, because you would have seen a lot of videos in different YouTube channels or in different sources, like what happens, what do you do, what the development activities you do, all of those things. So again, I'll go first to this topics what we have covered so far. Hope most of you would have joined all the classes. So we have completed 14 classes, right? 14 sessions from different speakers. So every topic here, other than introduction or UiPath architecture, this course, in every day, some speaker would have opened UiPath Studio, and they would have done some development. And like if it's an exception handling or RE framework or whatever, these topics you would have done this as part of your development, right? Now, what is that we're gonna do after you complete the development? Okay, so after you, let's say you are working on a web-based application, so you're fine-tuning the selector. If there is an Excel related, you're working on Excel. Okay, you're done. Then what next? What actually happens in your team and your project? So I would mainly concentrate this particular 1 hour in understanding what happens in a real-time scenario, and also help you to understand what is orchestrator, what role you have to do, what is your role, and all of those questions. Okay, so now we are in day 15, which is again into orchestrator. Before I show you what is orchestrator and all other things, so this is how orchestrator will look like. Okay, so before I go and explain you very first basic level of things, I want you to learn few things. Okay, and these are mostly used or mostly asked in interviews. What is UiPath architecture? Somebody says how actually how what runs, what happens when somebody do the development and all. So in UiPath, so far you would have seen studio, right? What is studio? You, this is the studio where you do any kind of development activities. Like you do something, you drag and drop the activities according to your requirement. You do proper exceptional handling and everything, you do it. I hope by now you would have learned all of those best practices. Who would have covered different speakers have covered a lot of things. So I want all of you to be staying at the end of this session so that you will not miss anything. Okay, so now in UiPath architecture, like I'll link, and also I'll let you understand some terminologies in your jobs as well. So studio, you all know what is studio, where we design or else we develop the project. Now after this, what happens is robot. you need to understand robot and also orchestrator. So studio, I'll not much cover in studio topics because we already done. Now what happens is after we complete the development, okay, we have to basically make sure that particular process is running even though a manual person or human is not there. That is the reason we are learning robotic process automation. That means without any human intervention, you want that particular process to run automatically, right? Now, how do we make it happen? Without human, how can robot do these activities? So those things you will see in Orchestrator. So after you develop, then you come to Orchestrator, and this Orchestrator topic, when we are, I'll go step by step and explain you. After we complete this development, you will have an option called publish. Okay, so this publish option is basically, let's say if you have done any development here, okay, any development you do according to the requirement, you finally publish the package. So after publishing the package, the real picture of Orchestrator will start. Okay, so now uh, what is attended robot, unattended robot? This is again mostly asked interview question. Also, you need to learn what is attended robot, unattended robot, and it is also linked to orchestrator. Attended robot means if robot to run, then there need a human intervention. Without human, this robot cannot proceed further. That is called attended robot. What is unattended robot? The name itself says unattended. That means without any human intervention, your robot has to proceed further and complete the task. That is the difference. With human, attended means human should be there. Somebody should be there to perform this task. Unattended, let's say early morning, let's say 2 a.m. or Sunday or any public holiday. If you want the bot to run, do you like to work on Sunday? Do you like to work on public holiday? No, nobody wants to work on that particular time. But if you need some task to run automatically, what is the task? You would have developed that in the UiPath Studio, right? You have done like opening a browser, you have done some RPA challenge, somebody would have taught you some, how to do those things and everything, right? Now, if you want that particular task to happen without human, that is called unattended robot. That configuration I will show you in next couple of minutes. But this is one of the commonly asked question: attended, unattended, unattended without human intervention. Robot will do end-to-end action and then complete the task. That's the difference. Okay. Now, I'll quickly speak about bot life cycle. What happens when you all, somebody would have been in RPA jobs, somebody is in completely fresher, they don't know what happens. If you learn your path, what is your next step and what happens in a real-time scenario? In bot lifecycle, basically, I would mostly cover with orchestrator related topics. You may have next level, next speaker will speak more in detail. But in lifecycle, you need to understand two things. Let's say you are a developer, you have completing the, after you complete, you push this package to the development orchestrator. Because why I'm saying development orchestrator, I'm saying testing orchestrator at this moment, testing and then prod. What is dev orchestrator, testing orchestrator, production orchestrator? Now, you know, client is somebody who's gonna give us the project. Developer is you. You know who's tester, who's gonna test your process. Whatever you do, whatever the development activities you do in the UiPath Studio, after you complete your development, you will have to move this package to dev orchestrator. Okay, so this is very, very important in your real-time scenarios. This is how it works. You first move your project to development orchestrator. After that, after you confirm, you should confirm that everything is working fine. You basically, your side or your team side, somebody would say, yes, whatever this developer would have developed, everything is working fine. Then what goes to next level called testing side, which is also called as user acceptance testing. We short form it is called UAT. What happens? See, At this moment, it would have been tested in different orchestrator. Now, once you get this sign off, okay, now what is orchestrator? This is orchestrator. What you are seeing on screen, this is orchestrator. So I will again hands on, like I'll show you practically how we move the package from development to testing to production, all of those things I will definitely explain. But just understand one key point here is, in most of the organizations, I'm saying most because some of them would not, they may not have this dev orchestrator, UAT, or like the stage orchestrator, production orchestrator. But ideal scenario, this is how it works. Now developer completes his development activities, and once you get the UAT sign off, okay, UAT will be given by client. What is sign off? Sign off means whatever the work or the development work you have done so far in your UiPath Studio, now somebody should say, I have tested this and it is working fine. After you get this UAT sign off, then you move this particular bot, because we are developing the bots, right? Now this bot, we will move to the production. Production means live. Who's gonna use this production means actual customers, actual users. So this particular production access, you will not have access. Why am I saying this? You will not have access to production orchestrator means, let's say a robot is dealing with the live customers. Let's say you're working in a banking, let's say ICICI Bank. Now your robot is retrieving the customer amount, like balance, the customer phone number, customer address, which is very confidential, right? So when your robot is retrieving the customer address, customer amount, balance, and all of those things, you the client cannot trust the developer. So that's not the right thing. So what happens is, in the prod orchestrator, we basically give access to the relevant actual users only. Okay, so that's the difference between three level of orchestrator, like dev, stage, and production. Now again, I'll come back to this actual question: what is the need of orchestrator? So far you have learned studio related things. Now why orchestrator? Okay, now I'll go back to studio. Now what I'll do is, I just created one, just started creating a process. You know how to create a process. I just clicked on home button, and then here you'll have new project, and you'll have this option called process. And then I selected this process. After I select the process, I will have this project name. This was created here. Chalo. Then next, let's say I wanted to just simply ask the user some details. I would say I would use input dialog box activity, and I will ask the user, enter your, let's say, okay, enter your age. Now I'll ask, just give some label here, and you know how to create a variable. I'll just do Control K and say int. Int means integer data type, and then say age. We have created a variable called integer age. Okay, now let's say I just asked a user to enter the age, and now I'll take the message box activity. I hope you know what is message box will do. I wanted to display this name of this user, what user would have entered. I said int age dot to string. Okay, so whatever I would have entered, I wanted to display it at the backend. Just a simple, very, very simple basic XAML. I'm just running this thing. Hope you are able to hear me, Niklesh, or organizers. If any audio issues, let me know. So now what happened is, we just I gave this input dialog box, and this is asking me to enter age. Let's say I'm giving 60, and say okay. Now I would get that message box. In that message box, I'll get this data. This is a very simple thing. This variable data I'm showing in the message box. I will not touch much in UiPath Studio. I'll go directly to Orchestrator. Now what I'll do is, I will click on this publish button. But if you see, you need to understand two things here. When you're clicking a publish button, first of all, you should see whether your UiPath Studio is connected to Orchestrator or not. Again, I'm repeating this point. When you click on this publish button, you should see whether this is connected to Orchestrator or not. How do you know whether your studio is connected to Orchestrator? First question. If it is in green color here and it is not saying you Orchestrator not connected, that means your studio is not connected to Orchestrator. That is how you need to understand. Let's say I wanted to disconnect this. How do I disconnect this? I'll go to this. This is, I'll close this and show you again. Go to UiPath Assistant. When you download UiPath Studio, okay, when you would have downloaded UiPath Studio, by default, Assistant will generally get installed in your laptop when you are installing the UiPath Studio. So this is how UiPath Assistant will look like. So I'll just quickly speak about what is Assistant. Again, some questions will come in interview. What is UiPath Assistant and all other things. This is called UiPath Assistant. Let's say if you want to run any process, let's say this is one of the process. Okay, I'm just clicking on this play button. Okay, I'm clicking on this play button. So what it is doing is I'm not even triggering this from UiPath Studio. So far you would have seen you would have triggered from UiPath Studio. You clicked on run file or run or different options here. Now what did I do? This is the previous project, not the current project. The current project label was something different. Enter your age, but this is enter customer age. So this is something I've created this morning. Okay, so it is asking me enter customer age. Let's say I'm giving 22, and then I'm saying okay. This is just to help you to understand how Orchestrator will work. Ignore this. I'll speak about this. What is this data from Orchestrator? How this message has got from us. And then after you see your process was completed. That means it ran for a minute and then your process execution was done. So what I am trying to tell here is you cannot tell that because when I was interviewing other people, when somebody wanted to join our organization, they tell that only from UiPath Studio you can trigger the bot. That is that is not the right answer. This is something you can trigger. I mean, you can run the file when you are doing the development. Let's say I am the developer. I completed my development activities. Now what I wanted to do is I wanted to move this to Orchestrator. Okay. So now after I would have published this, then I will get this here. But what is the current project we are working? Workshop process. Is there anything called workshop process? No. That means we have not yet published this package. Now, how do we publish this package? I will show you that step. So first thing, I wanted to disconnect this because this is already connected to Orchestrator. Because some of you, when you wanted to practice, you may see something different. So what I'll do, I'll click on sign out and say yes. Now what happens is I am signed out. That means I'm not connected to Orchestrator, right? Now, if you see UiPath like it says Orchestrator not connected. Okay, now if I'm trying to run this, it says a local license is required. What I'm trying to say here is you should basically connect your studio to a robot because the name itself, robotic process automation, the process, whatever you're developing, let's say this is the process that has to be run by a robot. If your robot is not active, that particular process will not run. Okay, so now I would help you to understand one of the interview question. Now the question comes like this. If your orchestrator is not connected to your studio, can we publish the package? This is one of the commonly asked question. Orchestrator not connected. Let's say you have done development with whatever you have learned so far according to the client requirement. Now you wanted to publish the package. The question is, can you publish? The answer is yes. You can publish the package even though Orchestrator is not connected, but let's see how it works. I clicked on publish and this is something very important. Okay, so it says package name, the workshop process. From where did we get this name? This is the project name, workshop process. The version, what do you mean by version says, let's say if anybody would have used any application, when you're trying to download any application from Android or wherever, you will see the version, right? Similar to that. Let's say initial version is 1.0.0. Now, if you wanted to create a new version, this will be the version. And as a developer, it is very strongly recommended that you need to give the release notes. What is release notes is, what did you do recently in this project? Let's say there are two people, let's say Ram and Krishna. Let's say Ram and Krishna are working on the same project. Okay, same project called workshop process. Let's say Ram is working on one of the module and Krishna is working on another module. So it is very important that you need to give the release notes so that we will get to know what is the recent changes happened. So now what I'll do in the release notes, I would say added input dialog box. Just for demo purpose, I'm just giving this input dialog box as a release notes, and then I'm saying next. And as of now, you can ignore all of these things and directly say publish. Okay, this output message is very important, and it took only 1 or 2 seconds for us to get it published, right? 1 or 2 seconds. But if the project is complex, it may take some more time than the actual expected time. When you are working with a very more number of workflows, and if it's like a different many number of use file, then it will take some time. But now it took us like 1 2 seconds, and then it said project published successfully, and this is the folder: program data, UiPath packages. Now let's go and see if it's created. If it's created any package, I just clicked on this link, and if you see, these two are done last time. Now, if you see, this is the package which we have just now published here. Okay, now actually I am expecting this package should go to Orchestrator, but it has come locally into my machine. But actually, what is our expectation? We wanted this to be configured in the Orchestrator. I will again explain you like in a meaningful way with the definition, what is Orchestrator, what can we do in Orchestrator when I open the Orchestrator. Okay, so now this is the package which we have created when we clicked on publish. Hope everybody would have followed here, right? Next thing, what is the extension of that package? Now again, I want everybody to note down this thing. Where do you see that package? Where is that file gets saved? So this is that default path where your NUPKG package will go. So the question is, when you publish a package, okay, so we publish the package. Now the question is, what is the extension of that package? You know, for Excel it is .xlsx, for text file it is .txt. You'll have lot of different file extensions. Now this is another commonly asked question: what is the extension of that package? The answer is NUPKG. Hope you all remember this, and then I'll proceed further. Okay, so far we have published this package, but Orchestrator is not connected. Without connecting to Orchestrator, you cannot even trigger the process. You cannot do anything. Chalo then, first of all, let's connect the Orchestrator. To connect the Orchestrator, first what I'll do is, uh, okay, first let's read what is there in the UiPath documentation here. It says UiPath Orchestrator is a web application. Yes, this is a web application. Whatever you are working here in the studio, this is Windows application, like where you are interacting. But this is a web application. This is called web application. Now I'll just show you what is Orchestrator. I already have an account. Hope everybody should have account, because if you would have downloaded Studio, you should have account. If not, create. And then let's see how do we navigate to UiPath Orchestrator. So this is one of my account. I'll proceed there and then show you what all the things you need to know. There are a lot of things, but with the limited time, I cannot cover everything. But the mostly commonly asked interview questions, or mostly where you need to do a support job, and all of those things you will be able to cover. So I just clicked on this one of the instance, whatever I have. Now I'm in this something called Automation Cloud. Okay, chalo. The next thing is, once you come here, hope everybody would have seen this page where you would have downloaded UiPath Studio, and from here you would have done this next level of training. But here you see Orchestrator services. This is the training Orchestrator portal, whatever I have now. Now I have added 3 services banking, default tenant, and insurance. Now, what are these three? And if I need to add another thing, what do I need to do? So let's do one thing. I'll go to this admin, and then here you see tenants. I'll speak about tenants, what is tenants in Orchestrator, all of those things. But if you see, there are three tenants already created. Now, if I need to create a new tenant, what do I need to do is just click on this add tenant and give a tenant name. Let's say workshop, and give some region. And what are the services you need, you can just give the check it and then save. And I'm using this enterprise version of UiPath or UiPath. In case if you are using community version, that's a different story. Now it says tenant workshop created successfully, and this is my workshop tenant name. That's so far done. Now if you see here, you have three options. Like it says view license allocation, and in view license allocation it says 0505. There are no licenses allocated so far. Now let's go and see overall how many licenses do we have. Zero available, zero available. Now if you go to this banking, there are three licenses provided for this tenant. Let's say if I'm making it one, okay, and then I'm saying save. So overall I have 5 unattended robots. I can configure 5 unattended robots. So now I made 3 to 1. That means 2 was reduced. So I can give those 2 to this particular tenant, and then I'm saying save. Okay, don't worry if you're not understanding this topic. Maybe when we go in detail, you'll get to know everything. Okay, so now first thing, I am just clicking on this orchestrator of this tenant. That means it will navigate to orchestrator of this particular tenant. So what this tenant is, let's say you're working in one of the MNC company. Let's say Infosys. Let's say Infosys is handling banking domain projects, insurance domain projects, talent or HR related projects, or different domain projects. Now, if you want to separate these domain projects into different orchestrators, then you would need to use this tenant and then accordingly map those projects according to that orchestrator. Okay, so have you seen this is banking, this is workshop, what we created now, there are different things here. And before I go to orchestrator, this is called automation up, automation cloud, where if you wanted to learn advanced topics, because this session I'm not going to cover what is document understanding, AI fabrics and all the things. But after you go into next level, you can also explore the options, whatever you are finding in automation cloud as well. Okay, now I'll go to orchestrator by just clicking on this orchestrator. If not, again, you can go back to home, and then you'll see new tenant was created, which is workshop. Okay, now I'm just clicking on this workshop orchestrator. So that's how you basically create a new tenant, and you can use that tenant. As I'm using this completely new tenant, so that you'll not see any real-time projects what I would have done earlier, because we are starting the things from fresh. So this is how orchestrator look like, and very shortly we learn what is processes, assets, queues, triggers, and like different types of packages. How do we create a package and all other things. Okay, so now again, let's quickly go to this screen and say UiPath is a web application. Yes, this is a web application. This is a web application, and here you can kind of create attended robots or unattended robots. I already discussed what is attended and unattended robot, and what is assistant as well, where you play that particular process, and then you can start that process triggering and all. Okay, so now as we have already connected to orchestrator, but if you go to UiPath Studio, this is still telling you orchestrator not connected. That means first of all, you should separate it. You should basically make sure you're connecting this orchestrator. So what should you do? Please concentrate. This is very important. So what you need to do is you just click on this preferences option, and then here you'll have preferences. Click on this. Before I log in, I'll just quickly show you something here in the UiPath Assistant. If you want to change the theme and all, you can easily change the theme. If you want to change it to any color, this is the option. If you want to create any shortcut to create any process, let's say I've created like December 16 or workshop process. If you want to create a shortcut for that process to be triggered automatically, this is the place where you create the shortcuts. And finally, Orchestrator settings. When you click on Orchestrator settings, you will see two types of options. First is connection type, which is service URL, and another thing is machine key. I would speak what is service URL, what is machine key, but when you would have not disconnected in your machines, by default, if you go to UiPath Assistant, you will see it's already connected. The status will already show you as connected, and the type will be service URL. So what I'll do is with this same service URL, I'm saying sign in. Okay, so background, you see there is some manual rewriting is happening, and then it will basically log in and then connect to the UiPath Orchestrator. So now after you do that sign in, it is asking me what is your tenant. I already have 4 tenants and it is asking me what is your tenant. I'm saying workshop is my tenant, and then I say continue. That's it. This is the simple step you need to do. And then if you complete this, you would see this status as connected and licensed. So there are a lot of other ways, different ways you connect, but this is one of the way with the latest version of UiPath Orchestrator, and this is connected. I'm just closing this. Okay, I hope everybody's clear, and I'll speak about this log level option in the further moment. Now, if you see no processes, you have no processes available. That means we have not deployed any package. Deployed means if upcoming days you see a word called deploy, that means a package to be deployed from your studio to that relevant orchestrator, let it be dev orchestrator, stage orchestrator, or the production orchestrator. Now, if you see, this is again turned to green color. That means you are connected to the orchestrator. This is as simple. You are connected to the orchestrator. Now, again, if I run this process, now you should see this process running without any problem. And you see running in the assistant also, it will show you like workshop process started, and it should basically ask me to enter that age. I'm giving 33 and say okay. And then it displayed me that message box data, and then done. And then again, you go back to your UiPath Assistant, you will not see that process because we have not yet published this package. Okay, chalo. The next step, what I'll do is I'll go to UiPath Studio. Now we already seen if I am not connected to UiPath like Orchestrator, if I'm not connected to Orchestrator, what happened? It has manually it placed in this package in this folder. Now what I'll do, I will click on this publish again. Now the version says 1.0.1. So earlier it was 1.0.0. From there we have moved the package to 1.0.1. Now again I clicked on publish. That means the new version is coming up. So automatically you'll see this version coming up, the upgraded version. And like I said, always you need to add the release notes. So the next question is, if I have not changed anything here, let's say in the version 1.0.1, I have not made any changes. From this version, I have not made any changes. Now, if I click on publish, will UiPath allow me to publish if I am not making any changes? The answer is yes. Even if you not make any changes to your current version of your project, UiPath will still allow you to proceed. But there is no point of doing that, because if you have not done anything, there is no point of publishing the package. But if somebody is asking you, that's the answer. Now let's do one more thing. It says message box, right? Instead of that, I'll say double quotes, customer ages, and then I'll say plus. I've just added this particular label here, and now I will publish this package one more time. Here I'll say release notes added, message, I'll say modified message box. Okay, and then I'll say directly publish. So what did we do? We upgraded the package from one version to another version. As we modified something, but this time you see carefully, it's not showing me any link that where it was placed. And if you go back to this folder packages, this is still version 1.0.1. You don't see anything like 1.0.2. But here it was saying project published successfully with the version 1.0.2. Then where is that package? I said okay, and now I connected to Orchestrator. So now what I need to do is go to UiPath Orchestrator. Now if you go to this workspace where I am working, and you click on this processes, I'll explain what is processes, jobs, trees, everything, the triggers, everything. So now if you see my packages, here you see workshop process package is deployed directly to the orchestrator, and it says published a minute ago. And this is how your package was published directly to the orchestrator. And if it is not connected, I showed you, it will go to this folder. And if it is connected, it will come to this particular uh, tab, into this workspace tab, and then you will see this thing added here. Okay, now I'll say view versions. Now if you see view versions, now again the question comes up. If I redeploy this package, okay, so from 1.0.2, if I would have redeploy this package with 1.0.3, then that 1.0.3 will come here. Okay, that new version will come here. So I'll quickly show you how that also will happen. So I say I'll modify something. I'll put a log message. Okay, I'm saying log message. Hope everybody know what is log message will do. If not, I'm just telling we wanted to put any message to the orchestrator. Let it be any log, let it be information, warning, trace, or whatever. Based on this log level, we will assign the data. So log level is information. And then here I'm saying main XAML, because this is a main XAML. So I'm saying main XAML started. Okay, and then done. Now I'll put another log message. And one more thing, as a best practice, always put log message to every workflow saying workflow started and end workflow ended. That is one of the good best practice, so that when somebody is supporting your project in the future, they will get to know where exactly the problem is. So note this point, wherever any XAML, when you're working on something, always make sure you put a log message which is saying this main XAML started. Let's say if it is login XAML, then you can say login started, you do something in the middle, and then at the end you can say main XAML ended. That's it. But always try to use as many log messages, because the reason is when you come to orchestrator, here you see logs. Whatever jobs would have run, I'll tell you what is jobs, logs, everything. But understand one thing, if you put logs, then you will get to know where exactly the problem is. That is as simple. Now again, I would like to quickly publish this. I'll say added logs, and then I'm saying publish. That's it. And then it says building package. Now what happens in building package, I'll quickly speak. If there is any compiler errors or any errors, any issues with your project, then your project will not get published. Okay, so this is something you need to note down, because if you have any compiler errors or any issues in your project, whatever you're doing, then you cannot publish that package. It will say unable to publish because it has some compiler errors. Hope you know what is compiler error and runtime error. If not, maybe I can answer your question at the end. And then it is successfully done, and the version is 103. Now again, I'll go back to UiPath Orchestrator. I'll go to my packages, and then I just do refresh. Now I'll go to view versions. Now if you see 1.0.3 published a seconds ago, and the previous one, whatever we did 4 minutes ago, was inactive. That means the current version is, this is the current version which is active. Okay, that's it. Now your project is ready. Now you go to your process. Now this process is ready, and this is the version, and the job priority I'll speak in couple of minutes, and all set. Now you have basically published one of the package to Orchestrator. And what I wanted to tell here is, this is something very crucial. Whatever you do the development, right? Lot of things you need to consider. because in the last 14 days, whatever you would have learned in terms of exception handling, how do you deal with the applications, all of those things, that skill has to be properly implemented, then you publish. After you clicking on this publish, then your project will look something like this here. Now, if I wanted to run this, okay, now what I'll do is, this is an attended robot. Why I'm saying attended robot, I'll tell you. So now I just refresh this, and this is telling awaiting install. Awaiting install means we have published this package from UiPath Studio to Orchestrator, but we have never triggered this. Triggered means I have never run this file. Okay, now what I need to do is, first of all, I wanted to run this file, not from UiPath Studio, because from last 10, 15, 10 days, you are running from Studio. Now I want you to learn how do you run it from different place. Now let's learn from UiPath Assistant. Now what do? You come to this place and you come here and then just say run. Once you say run, it says it will first download that package. What do you mean by package? That NUPKG package, whatever I told you, it will download that package and it will install and then run. Simple. Download, install, run. After I did it, it is saying enter age. But did I run UiPath Studio? No. I've not run this from UiPath Studio. I've done it from UiPath Assistant, and then it is asking me for an age. This input dialog box, I have put it in this project name called workshops process. Now, I'll give enter age. I'll give, let's say, 21, and then I'm saying okay. So now it says customer age is 21. Where did we get this message box? We have put that in the process, and then I'm saying okay. Very simple thing. It started, it ended. Now, this is the process. Now let's go to jobs. Okay, I just went to jobs, and this, if you see, job type is attended, and state is successful, and started 1 minute ago, ended a few seconds ago, and source, it was triggered from assistant. Assistant means this is assistant, UiPath assistant. Okay, so now if you go to this filters, you will have these filtering options. Let's say we have only one process. We have just created this tenant. That means you don't have any processes, nothing. Now let's say what are the logs? What is the need of logs? I just clicked on this job, whatever we triggered. I'm saying view logs. Okay, I think there's some issue, but what I can show you here is, okay, this is how logs will look like. Okay, so let's say it's job processing started, processing ended, and how much time it took for a particular record to come. Generally, logs will be coming up like this. Other than this, can you see, the next question is, in the interview, where do you see the logs of the jobs, whatever robot would have run? Due to some roles or some permission issues, here it was not showing you the logs, but just to show you how the logs will look like, this is how logs will look. Okay, so now I'll go to UiPath Studio. Okay, this is UiPath Studio. Now, whatever if you run from here, the logs will come here in the output, that you already know. But when you come here and say Control L, okay, when you do Control L, automatically that will open you a folder. This is very important. Every support, if you're going for a support opportunity, then the asked question is, where do you see logs of the robot? If robot is running, let's say it's running for half an hour or 1 hour, then you need to know what robot is doing, right? So these are the logs from last 1 month or last few days, whatever I'm running, those logs are here. But 16th, today 16th, I'm opening this execution logs. Okay, and if you see come down, you will see the logs. Let's say, I know it's going to be very difficult to understand this, but you will know what is there here. Let's say ended. See, we said the workshop process execution ended. So all of those logs will be coming up here. And places where you can check the logs. One is from UiPath Orchestrator, where you go to log section. Here you will get to know like what are those logs which are being run for this job. So as of now, we triggered one of the job, and those logs, when you click on these three dots and then you see view logs, definitely it will show you the logs, and something like this, you'll see logs. Okay, like if you see this this thing, one moment. Okay, so if you see a message started, hello, process ended, this could have failed. This is something just for sample. Ideally, you will have to give a proper logging, like why it failed. Is that because of business exception, system exception? We have lot of things. You should give a proper message. How do you give the logs? That you give it using log message activity. Whatever you do it here, that log will come here in the view logs. Okay, so now we learned what is process. There are a lot of things like unattended robot, how we deal with unattended, attended, all of those things. So this is jobs where you see the jobs running. Let's say again I wanted to trigger this. What I'll do, I'll just say play run button here. Then you would see workshop processing started. I need to go a bit fast because we already spent 40 minutes time. So I have few more things to cover. Again, I'll take your questions at the end. So if you see a customer age is 34, that means it's done. And then you see the new job is coming. So basically, what I am trying to say here is each and every time when robot is running a job, that means if it is running a process, it will come a log here. When you again click on play button, when you're manual, this is a manually you're doing it, right? When you again click play button, again you will see a new record. And yesterday when Vajrang was doing it, somebody has asked what is the difference between jobs and queues. Jobs means you will see the logs. I mean, you'll see that job here. This is a process, this is something, it started, it ended, like this. Okay, so but don't think that you'll see only one process here. In a real time scenario, if you're working in a big company, you will see almost 100 to 150 to 200 processes running in the same orchestrator. That is possible. So let's say if there are 100 processes here, as of now we have only one, which we just now created. But just imagine the real picture. When you have more number of process, then you will see more number of jobs, and more number of jobs will have more number of triggers. Triggers means something you would schedule. In the beginning of this session, I told you something like if you want something to be triggered at 2 a.m. at Sunday or public holiday, all of those things will come into this triggers option that I will show you. Next thing, we already discussed about my packages. Packages means whatever we publish the package, that will go to my packages. And logs we already discussed. And two things, logs is very important topic. Logs, if somebody is asking you logs, where do you check the logs? You should, the direct answer is I'll check the logs in Orchestrator. If somebody is asking you other than Orchestrator, is there any possible way? Yes, you can just come here, go to workshop, this particular project, and then do Control L. Then also you'll be able to see this log. Other than this, is there any other option? Yes. What you're doing to do Windows R and say app data. And then you will see UiPath folder, and you'll have this logs. So everything is going to navigate to the same place, and all the jobs, like it's, if you see, I've been using this from last August. Okay, so from August, whatever I would have run in this machine, all those logs will be coming up. Even for a developer, it will be helpful for you to see what is happening. Okay, and logs is very important. I covered these topics, and I need to show you something in the packages. So this is the next topic. What we are learning is what is the difference between packages and libraries. I know I'm going a bit fast forward, but if anybody have any questions, please note down. The next topic, what I'm dealing is packages and libraries. What is the difference between these two? And also, if somebody would have observed when you wanted to do any development, in the home option, you will see process and library. What is the difference between these two? When should a developer select as a library? When should we select as a process? This is the process which we selected. And then what is the library? If you see library means it is saying create reusable components and publish them together as a library. Libraries can be added as dependencies to automation process. Okay. Instead of reading this, I'll just give you a very simple example. Let's say there are two people, let's say Ram and Sai, and these two people need to log in ICICI net banking. Okay, so if Sai need to log into ICICI net banking and do something else, let's say Sai need to get credit card numbers of a customer. Just imagine some simple scenario. And for Ram, you need to get debit card account numbers or some numbers, or else a saving bank account number or whatever. But if you see this scenario, for Ram and for Sai, for both of these two people, they first need to log into net banking. Without logging to net banking, it is not possible to get a customer's debit card account, debit card number or credit card number. For both of them, the common thing is login. Do you think Ram should work on login and Sai should work on login? Both of them should work on login? No. What is the point of asking both the developers to work on same workflow? There is no point of asking them to work on the same task for both of them. Then how do we deal with this scenario? Not only login, you will have lot of scenarios where you can reuse the component. What do I mean by reuse? Means if you take this, I'll take a new sequence. Let's say reuse. I'm just creating a sequence called reuse. Now what I'll do, I'll say read range. Okay, I'm saying read range and then I'm dragging it to the center. Can I say reuse? I mean, read range is a reusable component? I would definitely say yes. As a developer, I don't care what is happening inside this activity. Do you care what is happening inside this activity? Personally, I don't care what is happening. What do you care then? You need to give the path of this workbook. You need to get the data of that Excel and then get that output here. As a developer, as a UiPath developer, you need to know what is the input you need to give, what is the output you need to get, right? That's it. Any activity. We don't care what is happening inside that particular activity, what is happening. Same thing. Let's say these two people are working. Ram wanted something, Sai wanted something, but both of them want same thing called login. Now I would ask somebody, let's say Krishna, to work on login XAML. I would ask Krishna, can you please create that particular login XAML so that both Ram and Sai can use that XAML. If you want that type of scenario, then what would Krishna do is he'll go to this particular project and say library, and he would create like a login bank login XAML and then say create. Now, what is the difference between library and so what project showed you? This is process and this is library. These two are part of Orchestrator, so I'm covering it today, but I'll be a bit fast. So process something you would have seen from last 10, 12 days, but library is something if you wanted to create a reusable component out of it. But the thing is, if you go to project, you will not find anything called main.xaml, but if you see this, the workshop process, here you're seeing main.xaml. That means this process will start running from here, but like package means, let's say, instead of this, I would say rename this and say login and then say okay. And now what this new developer, whoever I would have assigned him, what he will do is he'll do the development activity inside this XAML. Okay, this is a library, not a process. And this is again a commonly asked question: what is library? What is process? And I will not go in detail. But whoever wanted to understand more in depth, what you need to do is click on the settings button. Okay, this is the library. Like in general, you see only three options: include sources, compile, modern design experience. This is the library. What we are doing from last 1 hour workshop process. Now, if you go to the settings, Niklesh, you have anything?
No, Vamsi, proceed, but yes, tell, you tell.
Okay. Okay. Chalo. So what I'm trying to say, Aditya, you have anything to say?
No, nothing. I thought you were asking something.
Okay, I saw
You can continue.
something from chat. Okay, chalo. So guys, this is the difference I'm trying to say. This is library. In the library, you see only 3 options. But if you go to process, you will see starts in background, supports persistence, PIP ready, all of these other things. But I don't want to cover all of these things in detail. But one thing you need to know is in the library, when you wanted to create a library, when you wanted to create a reusable component, reuse, what is meant by reuse? If Niklesh wants something, if I want something, if somebody wants something, if 3 of the people want same thing, then I wanted to reuse that. I don't want all the developers to do that same activity again and again. Then that's a concept of library. You create that library and you create that in the library thing, and you do that development activity and then publish it. Okay, so now I'm saying publish it just for your reference. And again, the new version, I'm saying login added, and then I'm saying publish. So what I'm trying to say here is in library also the same procedure. It will again compile, and then it makes sure everything is properly there, and then package cannot be published to shared. Okay, that's a different thing. But one thing you need to remember is when you click on this publish, your library will go to Orchestrator, which is in this position. In the libraries, you will see that libraries. In the default, you will see already a few libraries added here. On top of it, if you wanted to create any reusable component, like I was mentioning, that libraries will come into this. Okay. Now, other than that, this is the package. Whatever the packages you are trying to add, if we are doing with this particular folder, because if you see it, here you see UiPath RPA, this is the folder. So you have seen that package directly coming into this folder. But other than that, if you wanted that particular package to go directly into that process, then that's a different thing where you can move that package to tenant thing. Okay, so as it's 8:15, I wanted to go and explain you a concept called assets, uh, and then I'll take your questions if you have any. Then I'll go to assets first. Assets is another very important topic when you are doing any kind of automations. And I'll tell you the need of assets first, then I'll tell you the practicality inside of assets. So where do you see asset? Okay, so now I'll go to your orchestrator, and then here you see assets, and the number says 0. That means there are no assets at this moment. Now, how do I add an asset? Before adding an asset, what is an asset? Asset means, let me take asset means what you have. That's asset, right? Like how many assets do you have? That means what do you have? And the same thing, like if you wanted to use a value for a process, then you would create an asset. Okay, so now let's create an asset. For example, I wanted to create an asset. I'll say add asset, and then I say create a new asset. Now it is asking me to create an asset name. Okay, this is very important. Please concentrate. Creating an asset name. Let's say I wanted to create an asset called URL. I'm just saying Flipkart URL. Just for this moment, I'm saying Flipkart URL. And you know, Flipkart URL is not a Boolean, not an integer, not a credential. That means it is a text. So assets can be created of 4 types: text, Boolean, integer, credential. Okay, text means string, Boolean means true or false. I can show you. If it's Boolean, it's like true or false. If it's an integer, it's like number, whatever number you wanted to give here. It's credential. Credential means it's a username and password. And one of the most commonly asked interview question is, you are the developer, where are you saving your credentials of your project? Where are you saving your credentials of your project? The answer is I would store the credentials in the UiPath Orchestrator in the assets. The next question comes is, why do you need to put the credentials in this orchestrator? Can't you put them in the config file? Yesterday, Vajrang would have showed you RE framework config file. There are 3 sheets, constants, settings, assets. Then the question comes up again, why should we not put the credentials in that config file? The answer is, I cannot show my password to anybody. Password is very confidential. But let's say here, let's say username is Vamsi Goli, and password, I am typing some password, but nobody is seeing that password. Nobody can see that password. When I say create, even the admin also may not see that password. That's the confidentiality of the password. Okay, so the answer to that question, if somebody is asking you where do you save your credential, answer is straightforward, Orchestrator. And in your development activities, please don't hard code the password like this. Like somebody would say like this, like they take an assign activity. This is assign activity. They say control K and say password, and then they give double quotes and say, this is my password. This is called, this is not at all encourageable. You cannot show your password to anybody. If you want to save the password, this is the right place. Okay, so now I'll go to text because I wanted to put a URL. Let's say I'm giving www.flipkart.com. Okay, just I'm giving some URL. I'm saying this is Flipkart URL, and then I'm saying create. It's done. Now, why do we need to do this? We already have variables. We already have config file. We have lot of things. Then why do I need to do this? Like to get this, why do I need to do this? First of all, let's see how do we retrieve this data. Okay. So now what I'll do is in the workshop thing, I would go to activities. Okay. You go to activities and type assets. When you type asset, you would see 4 activities. Get asset, get credential. Set asset, set credential. What is get? You wanted to get the data. Set, you want to set the data, right? So now let's get the data. I mean, get the data of that asset. Now I use this get asset and it is asking me asset name. What is the asset name we have created? This is the asset name. Flipkart URL is the one of the asset I have created. I would say double quotes and then give this asset. And you wanted to get the data from the orchestrator. Now what you need to do, just do control K and say str. This is the best practice. Whenever you are creating a variable, always say str. Str means string. If it is an integer, say int. If it's in data table, say dt. If it's a different data table, give a proper naming convention. Now I'm saying get asset, it's str underscore Flipkart URL, and then do enter. That's it. No more thing you need to do. Flipkart URL, you got this variable. Now let's use this log message activity, and I'll say this some log level. I hope somebody would have explained you what is log level and str variable. That's it. That's it. So if you do this, you get the data from UiPath Orchestrator using that assets tab. You get the data and show it in the log message. I'm running it. I will start enabling chat from 8:30. Maybe if you have any questions, you can post your question. At the end, I'll take your questions. Okay, so assets, it started getting asset log message. And then if you see www.flipkart.com. So this thing, you may ask me like, Vamsi, why do I need to put the asset here? Why can't I put this URL in the config file or wherever? Now tell me, if I need to change the value, I can just go to this orchestrator and just click on this edit. And from flipkart.com, I can say flipkart.uk.com. This is very simple to change it. But just imagine if you need to change this particular value in a config file, you need to first get the code where that particular code, that particular project is stored. if it's in a Git, there is something called Git where you get that code and then you clone that code and then download that and then go to that config file and then change that particular URL. It's a big drama you need to do. If it's an asset, if something you see which will frequently change, I am repeating this point again. If it is frequently changed, then you need to use this as an asset. If it is something which will not change frequently, then you can put it in the config itself. Let's say I think URL would change, then I put it here. Now again, if I run this, now instead of flipkart.com, it should give me flipkart.uk.com. So if this URL is changed, then it's an easy task for me to change within this tab here, and then I'll get that value, whatever I need. And then if you go to output, you see flipkart.uk.com. Now, same thing, I wanted to set the asset. Now I got this asset, right? Now I want to update the asset. For updating an asset, I'll say set asset, and then asset name, I would give the name. So this is my asset name, copy, go to asset name, paste, and what is the value? I would say workshop. Just for reference, I'm giving, I want to update this to workshop. And I don't want any log message to be displayed. I'll say control D. Control D is basically commenting out that activity. Okay, chalo. Then I'll do this run file. Now you should see this particular asset value getting updated. And also I will tell you a few more interview questions related to assets. Then we can move to queues. Okay, so now we initially it would have retrieved the asset. Now we set asset, whatever the asset name, we have Flipkart URL. I wanted to update this to workshop. Now what I need to do, just go here and then do refresh. Now you see workshop. That means your asset was updated to workshop. Okay, that is how you get the asset value, you set the asset value. Now another question is, what is the use of asset? The answer is, let's say 3 developers are working and they wanted this value, or else we can create another asset. Okay, ICICI net banking credentials. Okay, I said ICICI net bank credentials. Credentials means, you know, that's a credential. Now I need to give the username. I'm saying Vamsi Goli, and I would give some password to this. Let's say I've given some password, and I'll say password. This is optional. Wherever you see star, it's a mandatory thing. No star, that's an optional. Then say create. Now it says asset credential successfully created. Flipkart URL is it's already created last time. Now if you see, this is the created. Now this is the value. Let's say I'm the admin of Orchestrator. Can I go and see Vamsi's password? Let's see. I go here and say edit. Now I wanted to see the password what Vamsi would have created. No, I cannot see the password what Vamsi would have given there. So nobody can see that password. When I would have done, only thing I can do is update that password, but nobody can see that password. But let's see if I can retrieve the password. Okay, so now what I need to do, same thing, like get asset. I have something called get credential. Okay, I'll comment out get this thing, set asset this thing, and then I'll go to get credential and I should give the asset name. Hope you know how to give the asset name. This is ICICI Bank net banking credentials. I'll give this password here. And now if you see output is telling username and password, two output variables. So in the output variables, username, you know, that's a string. You know how to give the variable name, control K, str underscore user name. Now again password. No, but the password, if you see the data type, it's secure string. I don't know whether you have learned in the previous sessions what is secure string. This is not a string. You cannot directly like see what is there in that string. There is a different different way you need to get the value. But I am saying control K and saying secure string underscore password. Okay, and saying okay. Now let's go to variable section and see what is there here. We have created str username, which is of string, secure string password, which is of secure string variable type. Okay, now let's go and see what is there in username. I don't want to show my password to you, but I can show you the username what we have. How do I show that username? I say str control space and then username. Okay, now this is how you retrieve the asset of a credential. Even if you wanted to use the password as well, you can do the same way, use that set credential or get credential activity and get that password, and you get that password in the output. Vamsi Goli is what I've given the username there, and I got that output here without any problem. Now, I asked you, what is the benefit of asset? The benefit of asset is, let's say these credentials, let's say I told you know this scenario where three people are working. Let's say Sai need this credential, Krishna need this credential, another person need another credential, the same credential. Because when you're working in the development, right, ICICI Bank may not give you different credential for every developer. They may give you one credential where everybody need to use it for the development purposes. In that case, you don't need to create three assets for Sai or for Krishna or for another person. We may not create, there is no need to create those many assets. One asset is enough, because asset is acting like a global variable. Hope you know what is global variable. As that is a global variable, you can use that asset in your project. Let's say this is my project, right? Let's say you and me are same team. I would use get credential. You can also use get credential, and you say this asset name, and then you get the password. So what I'm trying to say here is, you don't need to put those many credentials like ICICI Net Banking Sai, ICICI Net Banking Krishna. There is no point of doing it like that. Hope you are clear. And also in asset, you have another option where you can create an asset based on the robot. So what is based on robot? I don't think I can show it here. Where you can create the assets per robot. Per robot means, let's say Vamshi has some robot here, which is some robot here, and he can also like only that particular credentials is applicable only for that robot. Like I told, assets per robot means that particular robot can only read that data. But if I'm doing it like this, whoever is using this asset, everybody can use that credential. That's a simple difference. I want you to explore more and more in assets. You'll have a lot of documentation. If anything, if any questions, I hope Niklesh would have shared my profile to you. You can connect with me. I can explain more and more in detail about asset. Considering the time, I'm going a bit fast forward. I'll go to queues. Now, what is queues? Yesterday, Vajrang would have showed you what is queues, what is add transaction item, add bulk transaction item, lot of things we have learned. But let's do something practically today, because considering the time, I'm going fast forward. So I'm saying add queue item, I'm saying add queue. Okay, I'm saying add queue. Now I wanted to create a queue. What is queue first of all? What is queue? Let me show you. Queue. You wanted to stand in a line for withdrawing an amount from an ATM. ATM, money, withdraw. Okay, ATM, money, withdraw. If ATM is giving you money, then you are standing in that queue to withdraw that amount. Let's say I have, there are few people, let's say A, B, C, D, E in that line. Generally, after A withdraw that amount from that ATM, then B goes in and then withdraw the amount, then C goes in, D goes in, and then E goes in. So in that queue, generally we stand in that queue and then withdraw that amount. That's a simple logic, everybody know. That is called FIFO, first in, first out. I commonly asked interview question, what do you mean by FIFO? First in, first out. Whoever was standing in the queue first, they will go out first. Simple. Now the same logic, whatever the theoretically, whatever I would have explained you, when you're standing in a line for withdrawing an amount, if somebody is in front of me, they goes into the ATM first, they withdraw the amount, they go out, I go in. Same concept. Go to queues. Now I'm showing you something in queues. Let's say I'm saying workshop and say workshop ATM. Just as some random name I'm giving, a workshop ATM. Description is optional. Auto say I can give it 151. The maximum number it will allow you to give is 1 to 50. You cannot give. Okay, so this is my queue name. I will quickly explain the concept of queues and commonly asked interview question. If anything detailed, we can discuss later on if you need anything. So we created queue. This is the queue. Now again, if I wanted to create the queue with the same name again, I say create new queue. Again, I'm giving same queue name, and then I say add. What happens? It says the name workshop is already used. So you would be able to answer one interview question. Can you create the same queue name again? No. The answer is no, because you already have this queue name. You cannot create the same queue name again. That's the answer. If somebody is asking you, can you create the same queue name again? Yes. Now we created one of the queue. Now how do we add the items to this queue? What do I mean by transaction? Means if you go here and you click on this view transactions, okay, this is a queue. You click on this three dots and say view transactions, and then you see no data to display it. That means we have not added any data to this queue. Now how do I add the data to this queue? That's the reason we have learned something yesterday related to queues concept, but I'll again show you that's activities. Come here, queues. Okay, you see these many queue items. I told you queues, something you need to add the data to queues, and robot will process those records in a performer process. So dispatcher is adding the data, performer is processing the data. Now these activities, if I do add queue item, so I would cover, like I said, I would cover interview questions considering the time. If anything in detail, we can discuss in the later on stage. These three, the question is, what is the difference between add queue item, add transaction item, bulk queue item? We would have already discussed, but the people who are joining today, add queue item is basically based on the data you are passing here. Okay, add queue item means you wanted to add the data to the queue, and that means you have the line in the ATM. In front of ATM you have the line. Now you want people to stand in that line, in that queue. Then who should do that? You should do that by using an activity called add queue item. Okay, now you should tell in which line you need to pass. This is the queue name. You give that queue name, give double quotes and then give this queue name. Once you give this queue name, your error is gone. And another important thing is item information. Let's say I wanted to add something called name, and I say double quotes Nikhil, and then say okay. Just for your reference, I'll just add only one item. Okay, add queue item. Now I'm trying to add this data to the queue. Then you will be able to add this data to queue. Let's quickly see that what happens. Okay, so now let's refresh this session, and it says new record. So what did we do? We have added this add queue item activity. Using this add queue item, we were able to add the data to this queue. That means there is an ATM queue, people who wanted to withdraw that amount. We wanted those name to be updated. So the status is new. And if you go to this three lines in the view details, you will see name equal to Nikhil, whatever we have added. Now let's say if you run this process again, instead of Nikhil, if you change it, again you run it, you will see new record. Just quickly, I'll show you for another record. Instead of Nikhil, here I'll say Vamsi, and then I'm saying okay. Now if I'm clicking on run file, so now what happens? It will add another record to this particular queue. So now one will become two. There is one person with Nikhil, with a name called Nikhil. Now we are adding another person to this queue. I am doing refresh. Now you see two records are coming up. So simple. If anybody in the interview or wherever, if somebody is asking you how do you add the data to the queues, the straightforward answer, you should use add queue item if it's in single record. I have added single record. This is first time added, and this is second time added. And then I go to this view details and see Vamshi was added here. So I don't want to do more and more, but ultimately everything it will go like this. And the next question is, how many status do you have? You have new status, but how many status do we have? If you see new status, in progress, failed, successful, abandoned, retried, deleted. So there is a lot of things you need to learn in queues, but on an eye level, this is how you need to add the data. Now, if you want to progress the data, I mean, you want to process the data, what do? You use this get queue item for get transaction item. And give that queue name, whatever the queue name you have. and that's it. Just I'm not even entering the output and all. I'm just doing this run file, and let's see what happens. Okay, so this one, if you see, it would have added. Now it's in progress. That means robot would have started progressing, and then later on stage, if you do a lot of more steps added there, you will go to in progress to successful or failed or whatever status you are seeing. You can customize and do your development. This is the developer job to customize the things and get it added according to the status. Okay, so that's about queues. Where just to conclude what all you can do in queues, because I cannot show you everything at this limited time. Add queue item, add transaction item, bulk add queue item. These three will add the queue items to your queues. Again, I'm repeating: add queue item, add transaction item, bulk. With these three will add the data to the queues. Add queue transaction means add queue. When you add, it will by default go with the status called new. Okay, by default it will go to status called new. But if you add transaction item, by default the status of the transaction item will become in progress. Okay, that is the answer if somebody is asking you this question. Now there are rest of the activities called get queue items. If you want to get the queue items from the orchestrator, get transaction item if you want to get one item only. Queue items means more items. If you want to set the status, if you would have seen RFM work yesterday, you should have seen status, what is successful status, what is failed status, all of these things. And these things you would see like updating the progress, updating the data. So overall, queues should be used when you have more volumes where multiple robots should parallelly work on it. So what I'm trying to say here is, let's say there are 5,000 records. Okay, there are 5,000 records. Now if one robot to perform 5,000 records, let's say one record is taking 1 minute. To perform 5,000 records, it will take 5,000 minutes, right? Now if client says no, we cannot wait for 5,000 minutes to perform these actions, but this robot is taking one record 1 minute transaction time, then how do you deal with this? Then I would introduce this queues concept, where you distribute this work. Distribute work to more robots. So now if you add 3 more robots to this, then you may not wait for 5,000 minutes. Maybe you would, if let's say if there are 5 robots coming, just for an example. If 5 robots are coming, then you would need only wait 1,000 minutes, because these 5,000 records, each robot is picking 1,000 records and then processing it parallelly. That means we need not wait for 5,000 minutes. We may complete in 1,000 minutes. Okay, so that's the need of queues. But I know that we have not gone inside queues and explained everything. But overall, the need of queues is to distribute the work, and parallelly, if you want something to be executed, then you go for queues. Okay, I think I'll pause for some time and then I'll see if somebody has any questions. Niklesh, over to you for some time.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot for the wonderful session on the interesting and very important topic. Let me pause the recording.
Okay. So Vamsi, the first question is what is reference in queues?
Okay. So when you are basically creating a queues, like I showed you, right, how to create the queues. So at that time of creating a queues, maybe I can share your, okay, Bajrang is sharing. So when you're creating or adding that queue, you will have an option like adding a reference or not adding a reference. So what is reference is, when your project need a reference, let's say, for example, I want a unique reference to be added. So in add queue item activity, you will have an option called reference. So you need to give that reference. So let's say you're giving a reference as hello. Okay, HELLO, hello. So next time when you're again giving the same reference and then you're trying to add a queue item, it will not allow you to add that queue item. So basically what I'm trying to say is, if you want to add unique items to that queue, then you would use reference property in add queue item.
So along with that, I would like to ask one more question. So when if we are using add queue items, we can set the references, but can we set the reference using add bulk queue items?
Yeah, very good question. So you cannot add reference when you are adding bulk queue item, because as you know, bulk means it is adding more than one at the same time. So you cannot add reference when you are using bulk queue item activity. And this is again commonly asked interview question.
Okay, here is the next question. If I have a job status failed due to system exception, can we rerun only failed jobs only on next execution?
Do you like to answer this question, Mr.?
Okay, so when we are working on jobs, when it is failed, the failed jobs cannot be executed again, or you may need to rerun with the queues. When an orchestrator in an orchestrator queue, it will be set as failed. You can retry it and the option, or you can also use a clone option to create it again. But if you have set it as retry in while creating a queue itself, like yesterday how I have shown, then you can definitely the orchestrator itself will create a new queue item on the top, and it will be executed after completing all the items. Okay, so types of roles available in UiPath.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is something I was supposed to show you today. Because of time, I have not covered this roles. But see, basically you will have by default lot of roles like administration role, a lot of roles. When you go to tenant in Orchestrator, there you will see something called manage access. So people who wanted to refer later on, then there you will see something called roles. So what is roles is, let's say Vajrang is the basic level developer in my team, let's suppose. Then I don't want to give him full permissions of Orchestrator. So as an admin of Orchestrator, I can restrict him to view few pages. Let's say I don't want Vajrang to see the logs. And let's say I don't want Nicholas to add an asset. So those level of permissions as an admin, I can restrict it. So you can customize or add your own role, or else you can use the default roles. So these options you will see in the tenant level of the Orchestrator.
Um, okay. This question, can you explain unattended robot example?
Yeah, like I said, unattended robot means without human intervention. Let's say you wanted to go to some web page, download some data, and process that data, and there is any human decision not required. Let's say there is no need of human to decide anything. Without any human intervention, if you want something to happen, any process, any application, then you can consider it as an unattended robot. But let's say, for example, if you want to balance transfer from Nicholas account to Vajrang account, but you need somebody's authorization. So that kind of thing is an human decision should be taken care. So if a human is required, then that is called attended robot.
Between Sudhir, you also take one question.
Okay. So this next question goes to Sudhir. How to use? Okay, I think you can exclude this
How to,
one.
yeah.
Okay, let me check something that is related to Orchestrator.
Yeah.
Okay, how to create a high density robot? Something that you can check.
I think you can take.
Okay, so the thing with high density robot is in a machine there can be multiple robots. So with high density robot, it just meant that multiple users at a single shot can execute or use those resources. So that is with high density. The best way to understand this is go to Orchestrate, go to UiPath docs, and there they will have an option called how to set settings for high density robot. But this will be this should be set in the server, not in a local machine. Okay, where all the VMs will be created. So that is high density robot. Okay, I'll give you one more question. So there, how to distribute queue for multi-bot?
Yeah. So in the multi-bot, so just imagine the performer. So if you just deploy into the multiple robots, the robots. So if you use a get transaction item, so it automatically taken the what is the new in that particular queue item. Okay. It's not like a specially designed multi-bot. So one queue has a multiple queue items. So if you just deploy the robots in multiple missions, so those missions are taking parallelly each and every thing. So one bot is picking the first one. Once it is taken, it automatically convert that status to the in progress, right? So the other bot cannot take the same item. Okay, that's a queue, first in, first out. Okay, so yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much.
It's not like a it's not like a distributing. So the orchestrator is taking care of other things. Okay, it will inbuilt having the distributing. So once we ask the a new item by using the get transaction item, it will give the new item. Okay, that's it.
Vamsi can take the next question. Which asset type is not supported in assets?
Vajrang, there is a question here in the Mentimeter, so I don't want to discuss this. Maybe after that question, you can discuss. I think the same question be ready, guys. Which type of
Okay.
asset is not supported? The same question is there.
Okay, so can you take the next one? Explain triggers and types of triggers.
Okay, so triggers is something where if you wanted to uh, where you wanted to schedule the robot at some particular moment of time. So triggers, like I said, scheduling the robot. So type of triggers means if you wanted to schedule a job for every 1 month or monthly basis, daily basis, like Monday to Friday, public excluding public holidays. Let's say if some requirement comes up like Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, like a different client requirement. So in that case, in Orchestrator, you will have something called cron expression. You can build your own cron expression and kind of create a trigger. So trigger is basically to schedule the job.
Apart from that, there is a types of triggers. So two types of triggers. One is a scheduled trigger, and the other one is a queue trigger, queue-based trigger. Okay. So once any new item added to the queue, so immediately it will trigger the another process. That type of trigger is also there.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So Niklesh, how much time do we have left?
Think we are already up time 9 o'clock.
Then
Read the important. If you have any important questions, check, and we'll take one or two last.
Okay, so yeah, I think this is important. What challenges can we face while using modern and classic folder? Vamsi.
We can take this question.
Okay. Frankly speaking, I haven't worked much on modern or classic folders, but one thing that you can tell is in modern folders, you can have subfolders as well, where assets or jobs or you can segregate them as per the folder. Earlier in classic folder, you have something called environments. Now this is converted into folders now. So with modern folders, you can give or you can segregate who should get access to only a single folder. And if you but with classic folders or with previous versions of Orchestrator, anyone who have the access to the Orchestrator will have access for all the process. But using modern folders, you can have minimalized interaction between different teams, or if you want to restrict someone through some folders, you can do that. So that is one thing, but there are some other options, or there are some other examples as well. I suggest you to work on modern folders, but not just to read the documents, so that you can explain. This is something that you need to experience to understand.
Just to add one point, where this modern is basically, if you wanted to give permissions or if any other teammate wanted to use that particular project, that's for modern. Classic is for an attended robot.
Thank you so much. So let's take the one last question. Okay, this is important if you ask me. Can we use input parameters for unattended bot? So yes, go ahead and do it.
Yes, I think I have not explored, but yes, I think we can add an input parameters. So when you wanted a process to be triggered, when it's triggered, if you wanted to pass an argument from Orchestrator to your process, then you will have an option to add an argument, and that data can be passed to that argument. Yes.
Yeah. So if you have the main has the arguments, right? So if you take the main workflow that has the arguments, so where we are passing those arguments, the values to the arguments from the orchestrator. So while you are running the job or scheduling the job, so once you select the process, it will show all the arguments, input arguments. So one of example in one of the project is like, so same bot. So like so one bot is dealing the separate location, Hyderabad location. The say other bot is taking the Chennai location. Like that, so there is a multiple bots are there. Okay. So we're passing the value through input parameters, the city name. Okay, from the orchestrator. Okay.
Thanks, Sudhir.
Thank you all. Thank you. We all know the rules. We all know the rules. Like who have been already winner, so we cannot take them. Okay. All the best for the day 16. All the best for day 16. And the first question on your computer screen, please. Okay, sorry, my screen might be lagging. Okay, the first question on your computer screen. Which of the below data type of asset cannot be created in Orchestrator? Sorry, we have 4 options. I always say check in your screen, not my screen, so it won't be lag. So we'll see the answer. So the answer is data table. Okay. So who gave the wrong answer? Please do check out. So which of the data table of an asset cannot be created in Orchestrator? That is data table. Okay. So we'll follow to the next question on your computer screen, please. The question number 2 is, please do check your screen, not my screen. So which feature in Orchestrator will enable you to schedule a process? Very easy question. Very easy question, which explained already by Vamsi. Please do check your screen and give the right answer fast. Fastest finger will get the more points. Okay, time's up. And the answer is, okay, the answer is triggers. So most of the people gave the correct answer. Who gave the wrong answer? Please do check out which feature Orchestrator will be enable you to schedule a process. Is triggers. Okay, we'll move to third question. All the very best. We know the rule, basic rule. Who are already winner will take the third person or fourth person or the fifth person. Okay, all the best, all the best. Last question on your computer screen, please. When we publish a process from UiPath Studio, what is the extension of the package file? Very easy question again. Okay, time's up. The correct answer is, wow, awesome, awesome. The correct answer is .NuGet package. Awesome.
People
awesome.
Followed my session, Niklesh.
Yeah, awesome guys, awesome, really awesome. Many people gave the right answer. Really appreciated, really appreciated. The correct answer is .NuGet package. So really appreciated. The who gave like 2-3 people or 4 people, please do check out the answer and we'll see the leaderboard results. All the best. The leaderboard is okay. So we have Tarun G and Sri Vidya. So we have Tarun G and Sri Vidya. So I'm not really sure that Tarun G is already a winner. Tarun G, I will enable your chat. So tell me that you are already a winner. I have given the chat because I'm not remembering because other organizer is also not there. So if you are not a winner, that is fine. And even Sri Vidya, you 2 people, if you are, I gave the chat option actually, Sri Vidya and Tarun. Tell me that if you are not a winner earlier. Okay. Between hearty congratulations both of you, Tarun G and Sri Vidya. This is the first time. Thank you, Tarun. Thank you for your confirmation, Tarun. Thank you. Hearty congratulations, my brother. Hearty congratulations. And Sri Vidya, if you tell me like I'm just a confirmation because I don't have the Guys, another person. Okay, Srividya, thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations, Tarun and Srividya. Well done. And for everybody who would have answered, thanks a lot. And I see like 100 plus have answered almost all questions. Very good.
Yeah, thank you so much. But Tarun and Srividya, hearty congratulations. Sorry if you felt wrong, but I just want to confirm, recheck. So that is why I checked. So I have given you the email ID. So please do send your complete address to my email ID. Don't forget.